Well, today's Saturday, the 17th of October. It's my wife's birthday. And yes, I forgot. She was okay with it. I had a feller come out and buy a chainsaw. I sold him for parts. I mean, it runs. It was just missing a couple of covers. But he bought some other things and dropped off Husqvarna, the Rancher, 55 Rancher. And he said he's had it for at least 15 years. And he didn't know if he ran too lean of gas in it, but he said it got hot and stopped running. So right off the bat, I figured that maybe that it had not really seized up because you could pull it over and it still felt like it had compression, but it wasn't pulling right. It was pretty tight. He had taken it into a steel dealer down in Kentucky, and they didn't want anything to do with it. And he said they acted as though they were just offended that he brought in something other than a steel. So he's had it. Matter of fact, he said he hung it up in a tree outside of his place there, and it's been hanging out in the weather for a little while. And it doesn't look like it was out there too awful long because it's not ruined. But he didn't know what else to do with it. So I said, hey, bring it over and I'll take a look at it. So I pulled it and it was tight and it just didn't seem right. And I got spark, so I thought, well, I need to take that cylinder off and see what's going on. I started to, and then I said, no, 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 no. I haven't talked to him about it. And so I put the screws back in. And then I thought, well, he did want me to find out what's wrong with it. So I took the screws back out. And then there's this plastic thing in front where you couldn't see real good. I said, I need to get that off. I couldn't get it off. I put the screws back in again. And then I thought, well, if I can get that plastic thing off there that's in the way, then I'll go ahead. So I finally figured out how I removed a ton of sawdust and grease and found the screw that was holding that plastic thing down and took it off. So then I took the cylinder off. And inside there is, you can't see it, but the cylinder actually looks good, other than the fact that there's aluminum buildup on there, which if you just take a little paintbrush and get some acid on there and brush it on, it'll take that right off, lickety split. So that's still good. And the piston is not any good. Let me show you. So this side looks good, but you can see right now that that ring is stuck. And look at that. Oops. A cheap Harbor Freight. Don't buy that from Harbor Freight. Watch this. It's magnetized, so when it hits down there, it shuts it off. I think, okay, anyway. So I went on eBay and was looking at, Chinese replacement parts because they're doing a good job at making these parts. And I think if all he had was OEM to buy, he probably wouldn't want to do it because that can get pretty costly for the head, the piston, the ring, the wrist pin, and, gaskets. But you can get it on eBay. And the prices range depending on who you pick, but the one I'm looking at is less than $40. And so you get the cylinder, and the new one comes with the decompression valve that goes in right there in that hole. This one's blocked off, so they just didn't happen to put it on this model back then. A new spark plug, the ring, and wrist pin, and gaskets, and I don't know, it might even come with a new fuel filter. It just had a bunch of goodies for like $35 to $37, and it even says make an offer. So I figured, why not take $5 off and make an offer? It might go for it. So I called and left a message with his wife that I found the problem, have him give me a call. This thing is dirtier than who tied the pup. It is filthy. There was a ton of sawdust and grease built up inside there. I mean, there's still a bunch in there, but man, it's thick. And these are no fun to clean. And you know, I always say I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to do it. And then I end up doing it. That crud. This right here has been melted. I don't know how that happened. Well, it got hot, duh. Yeah. So the even though it's Chinese parts, it's coming out of New Jersey. So maybe Marty can send a pork roll along with it, and I'll keep the pork roll. The guy can pay for it. So, you know, people have asked me why don't I, you know, do this kind of stuff for people? Because the reason why is I'm not going to have them coming back on me and saying, you made a mistake, you're going to fix it. Nope, I ain't doing that. And this guy, he said he would have sold it for $100. I didn't know what was wrong with it. And if I had just $100 laying around, I'd have bought it. But now that he's going to find out that it's going to be a fairly cheap fix, then he'll probably want to keep it. Lots of junk on here. And I've got my vacuum out so that I can vacuum up all this stuff so that it doesn't get down there in the engine and stuff. But I really love working on this. You know, I don't know if I have really said it a whole lot on any of my videos. I am really getting burned out on lawnmowers. Man, a living. I think a lot of it is because I get overwhelmed. Like, you know, all those out there in the cage. When I got them, I just thought that the majority of them was a piece of junk, and I didn't want to put no time and effort into it. But I did haul each one of them out one day and brought it up in front of the garage one by one, and all but two of them at least fired over. Most of them started and stayed running. And there wasn't any that I found that had the broken handles down at the base. The one that I thought was broken, all I had to do was tighten the nut and it was fine. And then there was two of them that I just felt like, well, I didn't even want to put any money into it, so I put them out to the road. So, but the rest of them, I think next spring, you know, the end of the winter, I'll probably get in the mood to work on them and get them all ready so that I can put them up for sale. That's probably when I'll kind of calm down and after resting in the wintertime from working on lawnmowers. But I like working on these because look, they're small and I can put them on my bench. And if I get a bunch in, if I want to, I can chuck them up there in the loft. I got them down there right now. I might take the remainder of these to the auction just to see what I can get out of them because they're not selling on Craigslist right now, and I don't know why. I've got them on there for just, you can't hardly beat the price, $60 a piece. And they run great, brand new carburetors and, you know, gas lines, all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't sell them for $60 if I had to pay for these and then fix them, but they're all freebies. So, just trying to get someone to buy them. I got a doggy bone. This is one that Buzz sent me, I don't know, a couple years ago at least. Because, you know, I was barking one time on my video, and so he sent me that. Well, this gentleman that came over today has a spaniel of the cocker kind, I guess. That's what it is. Her name's Maggie. And she came in here and she was nosing around and couldn't find anything. So the guy said, "What? No mice?" I said, "Good. You have to bring her over here every now and then and roam around my garage because I don't like mice in here. I got furniture. I'm a businessman." So I think I'm going to give her that bone for a gift if he allows her to have these kinds of things. So Buzz, your gift to me will finally get some use. And a nice doggy. I don't chew on those myself. So, well, I guess I'm gonna maybe do a little bit more cleaning on this. I'm not gonna go crazy on it, and then you watch. I probably will. So right now I'm working on getting this clean and stuff. One of the kits came with that new piece right there, but there's nothing wrong with this one, so I'm not gonna order that one if he wants me to. All right then. We'll pick up on this when I get parts in. So today is October 17th, and let's just see how long it takes to get parts and get her running again. Bye for now. Okay, so my brother-in-law, who is a logger and uses Husqvarna chainsaws, you know, they come across messed up parts all the time, having problems. And he has gone with these aftermarket parts, and he said it seems as though the aftermarket jugs aren't that good. And he suggested that if this can be saved, to just order a new piston, rings, wrist pin, and the clips, and go with that, because you want the OEM jug, if at all possible. And I'm pretty sure it can be saved. It just has, like I said before, aluminum buildup in there, which can be taken off with acid. And I've just been cleaning this up. I use this here. You can find it at dollar stores. Totally awesome. It's a really good degreaser, and it's just a multi-purpose cleaner. But I found it works great on greasy items. I don't know as of yet if he wants to go any further with this to totally fix it. If not, I will probably buy it from him and fix it myself. But I think when he finds out, especially if I can save this, and it's just going to cost him $10 for a piston, he'll probably want to go ahead and fix it. To me, this is a piece of cake, and I really enjoy this kind of stuff. So we'll see how all that works out, and I might end up with this saw. So we'll see what happens there. I think I'm going to do a little bit more cleaning on this, and then file that exhaust port down just a wee bit. So we'll catch up with all this later. That turned out pretty decent. I think that'll do. I totally forgot to turn on the camera and video this process. I went into the small engine shop yesterday. I showed him the scoring on this cylinder wall that I had. There was just one little spot that I felt was kind of messed up. I took some memory cloth to it, but I brought this in and showed him, and he said at the very top there's some scoring that's you're gonna lose compression, and he said that he wouldn't try to salvage this jug. So he went in the back room and he pulled out a brand new one, and that's this right here. That's the old one is in there. And he said that's been sitting around and he'll sell it for under cost. So I bought it, and it had the piston and ring and wrist pin and, you know, that kind of stuff. Didn't have a gasket. He looked around, he found a gasket. So I got those parts and I installed them. I'm just getting everything all buttoned up and basically ready to give it a test run. Everything works there, believe it or not. So anyway, it's in. I cannot run it any length of time. I don't have a gasket in here that was missing, and it's missing one of the studs here. So you can buy these two studs with a gasket, and that's what I'm going to do. It's about $10, and I'll start it, run it long enough just to be satisfied, and then put it up. He gave me this for even up trade with some stuff that he bought. He bought some clamps. There were ones that my brother found in the dumpster, and a boat jack. So that was $40, and he asked if I would take this for the $40 value, and I said, let me think about that. Sure. Yes, sir. All right. Let's get this put back together and see if she'll start. So for $55 plus another 10 for the deal, 65 bucks, I have me a nice chainsaw. Plus, he has one or two more bars and one or two more chains. One of the chains is brand new. He's going to be dropping off. So I can't wait to get that. And then she'll go up for sale. I'll break it in and maybe cut some logs out there. Well, I just ran down to Muskegon, about a half an hour away, and I picked up one muffler bolt. I would have gotten two, but they only had one in stock. Then I got the old one. I picked up the gasket there, and then two lock nuts. And so the two lock nuts, the one bolt, and the gasket came to $11.48. Yep, could have got it cheaper online, but man, I bet you I would have waited at least a week. And I didn't think about asking them about this. That end there is broke off in behind that claw. I can always pick that up later if I so desire. So now we're going to put them on there and then put the bar on there and the chain, and let's fire that thing up. I just tried an experiment, and I welded that little ear back on there. Let's see what happens. Ground down so that it can fit around that corner there of the casing, and it seems to fit there nicely. So moving right along. I guess that's the end of that project. Now what? Moving on to the next.